Welcome to AP Euro for Winners.
Today, we are continuing Unit 6 and talking about the second wave, industrialization, and its impacts.
Let's go over a little bit of the context of the second wave industrialization. This second wave is going to take place from 1870 to 1914, and it's much like the first wave, the lesson we just talked about, just more so and in more areas. Okay, so think about the first industrialization, first wave in Britain, how they started out, and it's going to kind of continue. And so, what is all that about? It's about factory dominance. Remember, Great Britain is the first country to industrialize. Talked all about that. So, know that that's going to be the context here. And we're moving towards the factory system. That's going to change the way goods are made. No longer are most things made by hand. Now they're made in factories. And that's going to be the dominant way that people are going to produce goods in Europe. Here's a little example for you from outside of Britain is the Krupp family pictured here on the right. They're a German family, actually goes all the way back to the 1500s, but they're very wealthy. And in this time period, they're going to start manufacturing weapons. And they come up with a way to perfect the steel making process. And they do such a good job. But by this time period, the late 1870s, people from all over the world are going to be trying to buy weapons from this family. You can see their guns pictured here on the right. And this is going to lead to the Krupp family to being a dominant player in the steel industry. And again, it's an example of how industry is spreading to other places. Okay. And then a little bit more context. Again, we talked about Manchester, England in our last video, but Manchester, England is the first real industrial city. They have that industrial park that gets created, and it's an area specifically designed in a city for manufacturing, where you make the machines to make other machines, right? So this is a city that's just built for industry, and as a result, a lot of people who are living there saw the standard of living increase. This money pours into the city, and more cities like that are going to get created.
All right, so we have some effects of new technology, and this is really important stuff to know. So, electricity is going to revolutionize the telecommunications industry. For example, in 1840s, Samuel Morse is going to invent the telegraph, right? This is going to send communication across wires to distant places using short and long signals. This also becomes known as, hence, Morse code, the last name. In 1870s, actually, they connect Europe to America with wires across the Atlantic Ocean, actually laid at the bottom of the ocean, which is going to interlink these economies on both sides of the ocean. That's huge. And then we have chemical engineering is going to lead to improved materials for manufacturing. Our example is vulcanization, which makes rubber harder and more durable. And then, remind you, rubber was used to make factory or machines, kind of power the wheels of the machines and to coat wires. So rubber is becoming really important. And then also railroads, we haven't really mentioned these yet, but they're going to revolutionize the transportation industry. Really important to know for our Industrial Revolution. This is dominant of the second revolution. A lot of these countries that are industrializing are going to build railroad tracks. This is going to increase commerce by linking distant parts of the country into the national economy and facilitate more people moving to the cities. Urbanization is, and by definition, people moving to cities, right? You're urbanizing. So that's another impact of all this technology, specifically railroads.
Some more effects of the new technology is the internal combustion engine. Okay, so this is the kind of engine, think about your car. If the first industrial revolution was powered by the steam engine, the second industrial revolution is going to be powered by gasoline. And this is going to lead to gas powered tractors for farming and cars for going places. And because of all these new technologies and the internal combustion engine, we're going to see new industries rise up. For example, Henry Ford, an American, is going to build automobiles, Ford automobiles. And while that is an American concept, Ford actually goes all the way over to Manchester, England to produce cars. Okay, so that's an idea here. Along the same vein here, street cars, as you see pictured on the right, are going to be created out of these new manufactured goods. And that's going to lead to more leisure travel. So now middle, upper class people are now traveling for fun, okay, across cities. With all of this going on, it's also going to lead to something called the advertising industry, where companies now have to advertise their goods and their products that they're being made, right? So, because so many places are now producing goods, there's competition between the companies, right? Like they have to advertise and prove like why you should buy my car versus another car. You're going to advertise to do that. That's because of the spread of the industrialization. And this is all going to lead to a major social change consumerism. All right. So because there's all these new goods, people are going to want to consume and are going to want to buy. Okay. And so we're going to get the increase of new types of stores like department stores. And these are massive stores that carry tons of goods. Like today, think like Macy's or J.C. Penney, not around back then, but like massive stores. Okay. That have a bunch of stuff. And then shopping is going to become a leisure activity, not something you just do to get by, to get your food, right? Middle, upper class women during this time are going to increase the amount of shopping that they're doing. And all of this consumerism is going to go back into advertising, right? Because if we have more advertising, that's going to increase the demand for these consumer goods, which means that the companies are going to create more consumer goods, which means they're going to have to advertise more, right? And that cycle kind of just keeps going.
All right, so we do have some economic troubles that we're going to see because of these two waves of industrialization. So the United States and Western Europe are going to experience what's known as the Long Depression. And this is caused by a scarcity of money, right? At this time, paper money was backed by gold. And you could only produce enough money if there had the same equivalent amount of gold, right? So you couldn't just like what we do nowadays, you can't just print a little bit more. That's not how it worked back then. So again, you have scarcity of money. If you have less money, banks are going to be less likely to loan out loans, right, to investors. So that means that factory building is going to come not to a halt, but decrease a lot. This is going to lead to unemployment and kind of a global crisis when factories are producing less goods. So, how did corporations respond? Well, they're going to create monopolies in their industry. If you have competition that's taking away business from you, so what one business is going to do is they're going to buy up all their competitors. They're going to be the only ones that sell their good, and they can set the prices at whatever they want. This is usually going to benefit just the corporation because they're not really going to care about the consumers, right? They're money orientated. But still, this is one effort that corporations did to respond to this kind of long depression. And then government's response, well, they're going to enact protective tariffs. Again, tariff isn't a tax on imported goods. So foreign goods are going to become more expensive. It's going to encourage people to buy local, right? Buy from their home country. They can't really buy from foreign countries because it's going to cost a lot of money. So the issue about this, though, is it leads to trade wars. Countries were used to trading with each other, and now all of a sudden one country says, no, I'm not trading with you anymore. That's not going to be good. That's bad for consumers. So a couple of countries are going to enact what's called free trade agreements, where between those two countries, there's no tariffs, but there's still going to be tariffs on other countries. So kind of like friendships and alliances a little bit here.
Now we're going to go into one example of industrialization outside of Europe just to kind of show how it happened and how it spread. And we're going to talk about Prussia. And this is going to be really important because the unification of Prussia economically is going to lead to the political unification into what we'll eventually call Germany. All right. And so we'll talk about this in another lesson, I think in Unit 7, how Germany becomes a country. But just know that it all has to do with economy first. And just to clear up, right, what we call Germany today at this time is a collection of hundreds of states that are loosely aligned, and Prussia is the most powerful of these states. And inside of Prussia, they are lucky. They do have a lot of resources like coal and iron. So Prussia in these German states is going to be able to industrialize very quickly, build railroads, create factories, everything that goes along with it. Okay. However, at the same time, Prussia is and all these other German states have a hard time trading between them because they're not politically unified. Prussia wants to resolve this issue. They want to improve their economy. They want to utilize all the advancements and resources that they have. Okay. And so they're going to do this in a couple of different ways. One of them is called the Zollverein Agreement, which was created in 1834. This is important to know. So pause the Zollverein Agreement. All right. This is going to lower the barrier to trade between German states. So they're going to lessen the amount of tariffs just between the German states. So it's going to make it more likely that Germany's going to trade, but these states are going to trade within Germany. So this is uniting Germany economically. It's going to work very well. And industrialization of all of these German states, even outside of Prussia, is going to increase. Now it's going to get a little confusing because another way that they solve this is through something called the national system, which is created by a guy named Friedrich List. And basically, at this time, a lot of German industry, like we said, is lagging behind who's the dominant industry country? Britain, right? So they're lagging behind Britain. So what Germany does is while they're decreasing tariffs inside of Germany in the German states, they're going to increase tariffs on imported goods from Britain. So it might be cheaper to buy a good from one German state to another, but it's going to be much more expensive to buy a good from Britain. And this is in place until German factories can catch up, and it's going to kind of encourage more German state production of goods.
It's also really good context when we get to World War One and kind of relations between Germany and Britain too. Here are those historical developments that we love so much. Thank you all for watching. Shout out to our AP Euro students, and we'll see you all for the next video when we're talking about the social effects of industrialization.
Until then, bye.